My name is Natalie Brennan, and I'm 34 years old. 11 seconds after my brother told my 6-year-old son he couldn't have a burger at a family BBQ because those are only for kids. With real dads, I pulled out my phone, opened my photo gallery, and played a video that made 23 people go completely silent around a smoking grill. I had waited 4 years to show anyone that video. I paid for it too, in ways I'll explain. My brother Derek turned white. My mother dropped the plate she was holding, and when my father finally understood what he was watching, he did something I'd been waiting my entire adult life to see him do. But here's what none of them knew. I had already packed our bags. Welcome back to Revenge Camera Stories, where the truth gets caught on film and quiet people stop staying quiet. We tell stories about ordinary people who documented everything, kept their dignity, and stopped accepting cruelty disguised as concern. Before I tell you what happened next, please hit like and subscribe. Drop your city and local time in the comments below. I love knowing where you're listening from. I'm in Portland, Maine, and it's 2 p.m. on a gray Tuesday that smells like salt water. Now let me take you back 8 years to a hospital chapel when my husband said something I didn't understand until I was standing in my parents' backyard with a 6-year-old asking why he couldn't have a burger. The summer I turned 26. I married Ethan Brennan in a ceremony so small it fit in my parents' living room. 20 people, homemade cake. Vows we wrote ourselves on the back of napkins the night before because we'd been too busy, laughing to be serious about it until the last minute. Ethan was a firefighter, the kind of man who'd stop to help a stranger, change a tire in the rain, and show up late to dinner smelling like smoke, an effort, an apology. He had this way of making everything feel less heavy just by walking into a room. My brother Derek hated him from the start. Not openly. Derek's too smart for that. But in the small ways, the ways that people who grow up in the same house learn to recognize as warfare. At our wedding, Derek stood up to give a toast and said, looking right at Ethan, "I just hope my sister knows what she's getting into. Marrying a guy whose retirement plan is hoping the building doesn't fall on him." The room laughed. Awkward, confused laughter. Ethan squeezed my hand under the table and smiled like it didn't land. But I felt it land, and I stored it. Derek is 3 years older than me, works in finance, and has spent his entire adult life measuring people by their salaries and their certainty. He married a woman named Vanessa who dresses their 2 kids like they're auditioning for a Ralph Lauren ad, and he's never once missed an opportunity to remind me that stability matters more than romance. And I swallowed the anger because I'd learned early that defending Ethan in that house was seen as being dramatic about the past. But Derek didn't stop. When Lucas was 4, Derek bought his own son, Cody, a junior firefighter costume for Halloween. He posted pictures on Facebook with the caption, "Future hero, just like his old man who'll actually be around to see it." When Lucas was 5 at a family birthday party, Derek asked me in front of everyone, "You ever think about dating again? Give Lucas a real role model?" Every single comment delivered with a smile, every single one designed to sound like concern. And every single time, I'd smile back and say something neutral and go home and write it down in the same journal where I tracked Lucas's questions. Because I knew even then that there'd come a moment when I'd need to remember all of it. Here's what I want to ask you. Have you ever had a family member disguise cruelty as concern so well that calling it out made you look like the problem? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. My parents host a family BBQ every 4th of July. It's a tradition that goes back to before I was born, the kind of event where attendance isn't optional and the grill gets started at noon sharp. This year, July 4th fell on a Saturday. I almost didn't go. Lucas had been asking about it for weeks. He loved these things, loved playing with his cousins, loved the sparklers, loved the chaos of too many people in one yard. But I'd been feeling it building. The comments, the looks, the way my mother would steer conversations away from Ethan like his name was a weather pattern she didn't want to invite into the house. I texted my mother the day before. "Lucas and I might sit this one out. He's been tired." Her reply came in seconds. "Natalie, it's family. You can't just skip family." So we went. I packed Lucas's favorite shirt, the one with the dinosaur on it and a bag with sunscreen, a change of clothes, and the small photo album I'd been building for him. Pictures of Ethan in his uniform, holding me, holding Lucas as a newborn in the hospital the day after the funeral when my mother brought him to the firehouse so the crew could meet him. I don't know why I brought it. Instinct, maybe. The way you pack an umbrella when the sky looks uncertain. We arrived at 12:30. The yard was full. Derek's kids running through the sprinkler. My father at the grill. My mother setting out potato salad in the Tupperware she's had since 1987. Derek was standing near the cooler, beer in hand, laughing at something Vanessa's brother said. He saw me and Lucas walk in and raised his beer. There she is, the saint of South Portland. I ignored it. I took Lucas to the folding table where the kids were eating popsicles and got him settled with his cousins. For about 40 minutes, everything was fine. Then Lucas got hungry. The grill was loaded. Burgers, hot dogs, chicken skewers. My dad was manning it, wearing the apron that says, "Grill Sergeant that Derek bought him 3 Christmases ago." Lucas walked up, polite as I'd taught him, and asked, "Grandpa, can I have a burger?" My dad smiled. "Course you can, bud. Let me get one that's ready." Lucas stood there, patient, watching my dad flip a patty onto a bun. And that's when Derek walked over. "Whoa, hold on," Derek said, putting a hand on my dad's shoulder. He was smiling. That same smile. Those are only for kids with real dads. You know, the ones who show up. The whole yard went quiet. Not loud quiet. The kind of quiet where conversations taper off in waves as people realize something's happening. Lucas looked up at Derek, confused. "My dad's a firefighter." "Was, buddy, was." Derek tapped Lucas on the head, like it was playful. "But hey, your mom's doing great. You've got her. That's something." I was already moving. I'd been sitting on a lawn chair near the fence, and I stood up so fast the chair tipped backward. "Derek." My voice cut across the yard. Not loud, steady. He turned, still smiling. "What? I'm just being honest. Kid should know the difference between having a father and having a story about one." That's when I pulled out my phone. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I opened my photos, scrolled to the album I'd labeled Lucas, and tapped the video I'd been carrying for 4 years. I held the phone up. "Everyone, can I have your attention for a second?" 23 people turned toward me. I walked to the center of the yard and hit play. The video was taken 3 days before Ethan died. He's in our kitchen, early morning light coming through the window. I'm filming from the doorway. He doesn't know yet. I say off camera, "Ethan, I have something to tell you." He looks up from his coffee, grinning. "You're finally admitting I make better eggs than you?" "I'm pregnant." The look on his face. God, the look. He sets the coffee down slowly, like he's afraid sudden movement will make it not true. He walks toward the camera, and his eyes are wet. "Say that again." "We're having a baby." He laughs. Not a small laugh, a full, breathless, disbelieving laugh. And then he says directly to the camera, directly to the future, to the moment I'd need this, "I'm going to be a dad. I'm going to be the best dad. I'm going to show up every single day. I'm going to teach this kid everything. How to tie knots, how to be brave, how to love people the way your mom loves people. I'm going to be there." His voice cracks. "I'm going to be there." The video ends. I lowered the phone. The yard was completely silent. Lucas was staring at the phone, his face unreadable in the way 6-year-olds' faces are when they're processing something enormous. Derek had gone pale. My mother had her hand over her mouth, and my father, still holding the spatula, was looking at Derek with an expression I'd never seen on his face before. Not anger. Worse. Disappointment so deep it looked like grief. "Derek," my father said quietly, "apologize to your nephew." Derek opened his mouth, closed it, looked around at 23 people staring at him. "I was just... now." My father's voice was not loud. It didn't need to be. Derek looked at Lucas, and for the first time in 6 years, he looked small. "Lucas, I'm sorry. That was wrong." Lucas didn't say anything. He looked at me. I knelt down next to him. "You okay, baby?" He nodded, then quietly, "My dad said he was going to show up." "He did, Lucas. Every single day he shows up. In you." I stood up and looked at Derek. "For 6 years you've made comments. Little ones. Constantly. About Ethan not being here. About Lucas not having a real dad. You've done it at birthdays, at Thanksgiving, at every single family event. And I stayed quiet because I thought eventually you'd stop. But you didn't. You got meaner." Derek started to respond. I held up my hand. "I'm not done. You don't get to teach my son shame about the man who died saving people. You don't get to imply that Lucas is less than because his father was killed, being the kind of man you'll never be. And you sure as hell don't get to do it at a family BBQ in front of his cousins." I turned to my parents. Mom, Dad, I love you, but I'm done pretending Derek's comments are harmless. I'm done making myself smaller so he feels bigger. And unless something changes, Lucas and I won't be coming to these anymore. My mother looked stricken. Natalie, he didn't mean... Yes, he did. He always does. I picked up Lucas, grabbed our bag, and walked toward the gate. My father's voice stopped me. Natalie, wait. I turned. He set down the spatula, walked past Derek without looking at him, and stopped in front of me. Your husband was a good man, he said, and his voice was rough. I didn't say that enough when he was here, and I should have. And Lucas, he looked at my son. You've got a real dad, bud, a hero. Don't let anyone tell you different. He looked back at me. You're right, and I'm sorry it took this long. I nodded. I didn't trust my voice. We left. If you've ever had to defend someone you loved to, people who were supposed to already respect them, tell me in the comments. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe, because this story isn't over. We didn't go back to my parents' house for 3 months. Not out of spite, out of necessity. I needed space. Lucas needed space. And I needed to know that when we did go back, it wouldn't be to the same silence that let Derek operate for 6 years. In August, my mother called. Your father and I talked to Derek, she said. For a long time. He's embarrassed, Natalie. He knows what he did. Has he apologized to Lucas? Not to me, to Lucas. A pause. Not yet. Then we're not ready. In September, Derek sent a text. Can I take Lucas to the fire station museum? Just the two of us. I want to make this right. I stared at that text for an hour. Then I called him. Why? I asked. Because I was wrong, Derek said. And for the first time in years, he didn't sound defensive. He sounded tired. I was jealous, Natalie, of Ethan, of the way everyone talked, about him after he died, like he was this perfect guy. And instead of dealing with that, I took it out on you and Lucas, and that's not okay. No, it's not. I can't undo 6 years, but I can start now, if you'll let me. I thought about it. About Lucas, who still asked about his dad, who still watched that video on my phone sometimes before bed. One museum trip, I said. Supervised. I'm coming with you. Okay. We went the following Saturday. Derek showed up on time, which shocked me. He'd brought a book, a kid's biography of famous firefighters. He gave it to Lucas in the parking lot. Your dad should be in here, Derek said. He's not, because they only put the famous ones in books. But he was just as brave. Lucas looked at the book, then at Derek. Did you know my dad? Yeah, bud, I did. And I didn't tell you enough how cool he was. I'm sorry. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't a movie moment. But it was real. And it was a start. Over the next year, things shifted. Derek stopped making comments. He started asking about Lucas. Real questions, not performance questions. At Thanksgiving, he brought a framed photo of Ethan in his dress uniform and set it on the mantel without being asked. At Christmas, he gave Lucas a firefighter's helmet. A real one. Retired from service, with Brennan stenciled on the back. Lucas wore it for 3 days straight. My parents started talking about Ethan more openly. My mother framed the video I'd played at the BBQ and put it in the living room. My father asked me once if he could come with us when we visited Ethan's grave on his birthday. We went together. The 3 of us. It's not perfect. Some family relationships don't survive what Derek did. Ours did, barely, and only because he chose to change. But I'll tell you what did survive. Fully intact. Lucas's understanding of who his father was. Last month, Lucas's first grade class did a project called My Hero. He brought home a poster. Construction paper, glue stick, markers. At the top, in his careful 6-year-old handwriting, my dad, Ethan Brennan. Below that, a photo I'd given him. Ethan in his gear, smiling at the camera, covered in soot. And at the bottom, in letters he'd traced over and over to get them right. He showed up every day. I hung it on our fridge, and I thought about that 4th of July, about the moment I almost didn't go, about the video I almost didn't keep, about the 23 people who went silent when the truth played out loud. Here's the truth I learned at 34 that I wish I'd known at 26. Standing in a chapel, alone, 12 weeks pregnant and terrified. Grief doesn't make you weak. Letting people diminish it does.